Welcome to BuildWise. Today, we're following builder Dmitry Lukin as he constructs an incredible home from the ground up, starting with a state-of-the-art insulated foundation. Be sure to like and subscribe to see more in-depth builds like this one. The project begins with laying out the drainage system. Dmitry connects orange PVC pipes with T and Y joints on a prepared sandbed to effectively manage water beneath the future slab. He then digs trenches with a shovel and carefully buries the pipe network, ensuring the correct slope is maintained for gravity-fed drainage. Using a spirit level, he confirms the pipes are perfectly graded, a critical step to prevent water from pooling and compromising the foundation's integrity over time. Next, large sections of prefabricated L-shaped foamwork made from expanded polystyrene foam with a concrete face are delivered to the site. Before assembling the forms, he uses a custom-made hot wire cutter to shape the foam blocks, a technique that allows for precise, clean cuts without creating dust. He applies a specialized adhesive with a caulking gun to bond the foam sections together, creating strong, permanent, insulated foamwork corners. With the corner pieces assembled, he carries one of the large L blocks and carefully positions it along the guide strings, starting the foundation's perimeter. Using his spirit level again, he verifies that the foamwork is perfectly horizontal, making minor adjustments to ensure the final concrete slab will be flat and even. To seal the joints between foamwork sections, he applies expanding foam with a foam gun, which creates an airtight seal and prevents concrete from leaking out during the pour. Now large sheets of XPS insulation panels are laid across the entire interior area, providing a continuous thermal break between the ground and the concrete slab. He uses the hot wire cutter to create precise circular openings in the insulation, allowing the vertical drainage pipes to pass through while maintaining a snug, insulated fit. With all the insulation panels in place, the foundation is now a fully insulated, prepared base ready for the next critical stage of the build. To prepare for the plumbing lines, Dmitry carves precise channels directly into the XPS insulation using his custom hot wire cutter, which allows him to embed the pipes neatly below the main heating system. He then runs the red and blue PEX tubing for the hot and cold water supply lines, pressing them firmly into the pre-cut channels to keep them secure and organized. Next, he begins reinforcing the foundation with a grid of steel rebar, using a rebar tying tool to twist wire ties at each intersection, which creates a strong, unified mesh that provides the concrete with essential tensile strength. To unroll the PEX tubing for the radiant heating system without tangles, he uses a clever DIY dispenser made from an old tire. He lays out the underfloor heating loops in a continuous serpentine pattern, securing the tubing to the rebar grid with plastic zip ties to ensure even spacing for uniform heat distribution across the floor. With all the utility lines now in place, he installs a grounding rod by hammering it deep into the earth, a crucial safety measure that will protect the home's electrical system. He then lays out the main electrical supply cable, carefully routing it along the rebar grid and securing it with wire ties to keep it in position during the upcoming concrete pour. To ensure the rebar grid is properly embedded within the slab, he places plastic rebar chairs underneath the mesh at regular intervals, lifting it to the optimal height for maximum structural integrity. A second layer of heavier gauge rebar is installed on top of the first, and he meticulously connects the bars with wire ties, completing the robust steel skeleton of the foundation. Using a string line and a tape measure, Dmitry confirms the height and level of the entire rebar grid, making final adjustments to ensure it meets the required specifications before the concrete is poured.
With all preparations complete, the concrete mixer truck arrives to pour the foundation slab, while the team uses shovels and rakes to guide the flow and distribute the material evenly across the entire area. A builder uses a concrete vibrator, plunging the tool into the wet mix to remove any trapped air bubbles. This essential step ensures the concrete fully encases the rebar and heating pipes, preventing weak spots. Next, the team levels the surface with a motorized screed. As they pull it across the top of the formwork, its vibrations compact and flatten the concrete, creating a perfectly smooth and uniform foundation slab. After the concrete has cured, the builder grinds the entire surface using an angle grinder fitted with a diamond cup wheel. This process removes any high spots or latents, creating an ideal, smooth base for the next phase of construction.
With the foundation cured, Dmitry Lukin begins constructing the ground floor walls using large aerated concrete blocks. He starts by mixing a traditional mortar bed for the first course, which is essential for perfectly leveling the base of the entire wall structure on the concrete slab. Dmitry meticulously lays the first corner block, tapping it into place with a rubber mallet and using a spirit level to ensure it is perfectly plumb and level, as this block will guide the alignment for the rest of the wall. For subsequent courses, he switches to a specialized thin-set mortar. Applied with a notched trowel, this method creates a thinner, stronger, and more thermally efficient joint compared to traditional mortar. He uses a bandsaw to make precise cuts in the blocks, a tool chosen for its ability to cleanly and quickly slice through the lightweight, aerated concrete without creating excess dust. To create channels for reinforcement, Dmitry uses a wall chaser, which is a specialized grinder with two parallel blades that makes quick work of cutting clean, uniform grooves in the blockwork. He then places steel rebar into these channels and fills them with mortar, effectively creating a reinforced bond beam within the wall that dramatically increases its structural integrity against lateral forces. The process of laying blocks continues, with each course carefully checked for level and alignment against a string line, ensuring the walls rise perfectly straight. Above the window and door openings, he installs prefabricated U-shaped blocks. These act as permanent formwork for concrete lintels, which will support the load from the floor and roof above. He places reinforcing steel bars inside the U-blocks before filling them with concrete, creating strong, load-bearing beams that are seamlessly integrated into the wall system.
If you enjoy this video, please give us a like and subscribe to the channel. This is the best way to support what we do here.
With a final course of blocks laid and all lintels in place, the ground floor walls are now complete, forming a solid and well-insulated base for the second story.
Now it's time to build the second floor. Dmitry begins by installing a Mauerlat, a heavy wooden plate that is secured to the top of the masonry walls with anchor bolts to evenly distribute the weight of the floor and roof. Next, the team lifts the main floor joists into position, carefully placing them across the interior support walls and the Mauerlat. These joists will form the structural skeleton of the second floor. Before laying the subfloor, he applies a generous bead of construction adhesive along the top of each joist. This crucial step creates a monolithic bond with the sheathing, preventing floor squeaks and adding rigidity. Sheets of oriented strand board, or OSB, are laid down to form the subfloor. This engineered wood product is chosen for its strength, stability, and load-bearing capacity. Using a pneumatic framing nailer, he rapidly fastens the OSB sheathing to the joists, a method that is far faster and more consistent than hand nailing, ensuring a secure floor deck.
With the second floor deck complete, Dmitry's team begins framing the upper walls. They assemble each wall section flat on the floor, which allows for precise measurements and fast assembly with the framing nailer. Once a wall section is built, the crew works together to tilt it up into its final vertical position, carefully aligning it with the chalk lines on the subfloor. They secure the wall in place and add temporary diagonal bracing, which is essential to keep the walls perfectly plumb and stable until the entire structure is interconnected and sheathed. The process is repeated for all exterior and interior walls, with each frame being constructed on the deck and then raised into place, gradually forming the layout of the second story. Now, the team assembles the large triangular gable end walls. These key structural elements will define the pitch of the roof and provide end support for the ridge beam. With the gable ends framed and sheathed, they are carefully lifted into position at each end of the house, marking a major milestone in the framing process. The next critical step is installing the ridge beam. This massive laminated veneer lumber beam, chosen for its superior strength and stability, is hoisted to the peak of the roof. The crew carefully maneuvers the ridge beam into place, resting it on the gable ends and central support posts to create the apex of the roof structure. With the ridge beam secured, Dmitry begins cutting the rafters. He uses a circular saw to make precise angled cuts, known as bird's mouth cuts, which allow the rafters to sit securely on the top plates of the walls. The rafters are then lifted into place one by one, connecting the walls to the ridge beam. He uses a framing nailer to toe-nail them securely at both the top and bottom, forming the rigid skeleton of the roof. Finally, collar ties are installed horizontally between opposing rafters. These structural members prevent the roof from spreading apart under heavy loads, like snow, completing the robust roof frame. While one section of the roof is prepared, another section undergoes insulation from the outside. Here, thick, rigid PIR insulation panels are cut to size and friction-fitted between the roof rafters. He then applies a specialized foil tape over all the seams of the insulation panels, further enhancing the seal and creating a continuous, unbroken air and vapor barrier across the entire roof plane. Vertical wooden strips, known as counterbattens, are screwed through the insulation and into the rafters below. These create a crucial ventilation channel that allows air to circulate under the final roof covering, keeping the structure dry. With the roof frame complete, the next step is to install the structural sheathing. The team lays large sheets of oriented strand board across the rafters, creating a solid and stable roof deck. Using a pneumatic nail gun, they systematically fasten the OSB panels to the underlying framework, a method chosen for its speed and the consistent holding power of the nails. Before moving on, Dmitry installs the skylight frames into the pre-cut openings, ensuring a tight fit that will be crucial for waterproofing later. Next, a waterproof, breathable underlayment is rolled out over the entire roof. This membrane acts as a critical secondary barrier against moisture, protecting the wooden structure underneath the final roofing material. He then begins applying the asphalt shingles, starting with a starter course along the eaves. Each shingle is carefully aligned and fastened with a pneumatic roofing nailer, which is set to the correct pressure to drive nails flush without damaging the shingles. The shingles are installed in an overlapping pattern, working up towards the roof's peak. This method ensures that water effectively sheds down the roof without penetrating the layers. Around the skylight, he applies a specialized flashing kit. This multi-piece system is designed to integrate seamlessly with both the window and the shingles, creating a durable, watertight seal around the opening. To complete the roof, he installs the ridge cap vent along the entire peak. This component is essential for proper attic ventilation, allowing hot, moist air to escape and preventing issues like mold and ice dams in the winter. Finally, he installs the ridge cap shingles over the vent, using a nail gun to secure them in place and applying roofing sealant to ensure the final peak is completely weatherproof.
With the roof fully shingled, Dmitry begins the exterior finishing work, starting with the crucial installation of the gutter system to manage rainwater runoff. He first attaches the gutter support brackets to the stained fascia board using a taut string line stretched along the roof's edge. This line establishes a precise and consistent slope, which is essential for ensuring water flows freely toward the downspouts instead of pooling. Using an angle grinder with a cutting disc, a tool chosen for its speed and precision, he cuts the brown vinyl guttering to the exact length needed for the roofline. He then assembles the downspout elbows and connectors on the ground before lifting the main gutter channels into place, snapping them securely into the pre-installed brackets. The complete downspout assembly is then attached to the wall with sturdy pipe clamps, which are anchored directly into the blockwork to create a durable drainage path that directs water safely away from the foundation.
The final major construction task is to build the spacious outdoor deck and balcony, extending the home's living area to the outdoors. The process begins with building the substructure. A robust frame of pressure-treated joists and beams is constructed on concrete piers and securely anchored to the house's foundation, creating a solid platform. Next, Dmitry installs the deck boards. To achieve a flawless surface with no visible fasteners, he uses a hidden fastening system. This specialized jig precisely spaces the boards and guides a drill to drive screws at a perfect angle into the edge of each plank.
This technique not only provides a clean, high-end look, but also protects the wood by eliminating surface holes where water could collect and cause rot over time. With the decking complete, he moves on to constructing the railings. He assembles the vertical balusters between the top and bottom rails while the sections are laid flat, which allows for efficient and accurate work. The finished railing panels are then lifted into place and firmly attached between the main support posts, creating a safe and sturdy enclosure that beautifully complements the wooden exterior. This same meticulous process is repeated for the second floor balcony, tying the entire architectural design together and completing the home's functional and charming outdoor spaces. Next, he transitions to applying the exterior facade. For the lower portion of the house, he installs a flexible brick veneer. He begins by applying a specialized adhesive to the wall with a notched trowel, creating uniform ridges that ensure an optimal, even bond. He then presses the veneer sheet, which is reinforced with an integrated fiberglass mesh, firmly into the adhesive. This system provides the classic aesthetic of brick without the structural weight and labor of traditional masonry. Once the panels are set, he meticulously fills the joints with a mortar-like grout using a small trowel, and then smooths the surface with a damp sponge, perfectly recreating the appearance and texture of an authentic brick wall. For the upper story, Dmitry installs horizontal wood siding. He uses a specialized siding jig, the Camo Marksman, which positions each board perfectly and guides screws into the edge at a precise angle. This hidden fastening technique is chosen because it secures the boards tightly while leaving a clean, professional surface free of visible nail or screw holes, enhancing both the look and the weather resistance of the facade. The final exterior detail involves installing the window and door trim. These pre-stand wooden boards are carefully measured, cut, and screwed into place, beautifully framing the openings and completing the home's distinctive style.
And here is the completed house, a stunning example of thoughtful design and quality craftsmanship. With its beautiful combination of brick and wood, a professionally installed roof, and elegant exterior lighting, this home is ready to be enjoyed for years to come. Thank you for joining us on this incredible build journey with Dmitry Lukin. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to BuildWise for more.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.